Hello and welcome to the Kennel Connection webinar on maintenance, backups, and the Product Support Center. My name is Scott. I'll be your presenter for this webinar. You'll notice the chat window is open. My contact information is in the chat window. I can be emailed at scott@bluecrystalsoftware.com, or you can call me at 888-486-4343, extension 307. The chat window will remain open throughout the presentation, but I do ask that you refrain from entering any questions into the chat window until the end of the formal presentation when we start the question and answer session. This presentation should take half an hour to 45 minutes, and we'll go through the basics on maintaining, backing up Kennel Connection, and accessing the Product Support Center. On your screen right now, you should see Kennel Connection 6.0, my monitor. For those of you who have not seen Kennel Connection 6 yet and are familiar with Kennel Connection 5, you notice that the view is a little bit different. The main difference being, instead of the drop-down menus from Kennel Connection 5, we now have a ribbon selection. Simply selecting the tabs reveals the ribbon for that tab. You can minimize the ribbon by right-clicking on the tab bar and clicking Minimize the Ribbon. This will hide the ribbon until the tab is selected. You can maximize it by doing the same thing. The main focus on this webinar is help on the utilities and options to keep your database healthy and to do maintenance on it and look up information regarding Kennel Connection on your own. For the first stop, we're going to be looking at the Help tab. Directly under the Help tab, you're going to find the About section, and we have About Kennel Connection. Looking on this will open up the About Kennel Connection window, which will have basic information regarding your program. We're experiencing a slight delay with mine opening up because I'm using the Quickbooks Direct Link module, and when you have that set up, Connection also seeks the on that database as well. That's off. It does take a minute for it to connect and get that information. Now you'll notice we have the picture of the dogs. Those of you familiar with Kennel Connection 5 knew that we had issues occasionally with Windows blocking the toolbar updating, and we had a utility where you would double-click on the dog head here. In this, for our new icon here, you do not need to do that. There's no option there. The ribbon selection has taken care of any issues with Windows blocking updates for that, so you won't have to worry about your toolbar not updating when you update the rest of the program. First, we have the About tab. Here we have our basic information regarding the Kennel Connection program. First, the name of the program, in this case, Kennel Connection 6, the service release 6, and the revision number, which in this case is 6.0.15. Whenever you are connected to our technical support or our training support and they ask you to update to the latest version, the version they are referring to is the revision number. We always want to get you on the latest revision number for Kennel Connection 6. Below that, you'll have the product registration information, including your registration number. And then below that, contact information for Kennel Connection, our main address, phone number, and link to the Kennel Connection website. To check if you have the latest version of Kennel Connection, we have the button here, Check for Updates. Clicking that will reveal that there is an update in the system to be downloaded. In this case, we have 6.0.17 is the latest version, and it's asking me to update to the latest version. If you have updated to the latest version, this screen will come up telling you that you do not need to update. And in a little bit, we'll go into how to update and where to get that update. The other tab here in the System section is the System tab. Here's some important information that might be needed by our tech team or your computer tech when installing or setting up a network or other options involving Kennel Connection on your computers. We have the data path. This is where the database is stored in the program. If you're using one computer, the data path and install path, which is where Kennel Connection is installed on the program computer you're on, these will be the same item if you're on one computer system. If you're using a network with multiple computers running to the Kennel Connection program, the install path is going to be the folder where Kennel Connection is installed on the computer you're currently on, and the data path is going to show you where that database is stored. Below that, we have your database type. This is going to be either Microsoft Access or SQL Server. And then the database size. You want to keep an eye on your database size, especially if you're using the program for a number of years or have a large amount of data in there. Once your database starts getting to 150, 200 megabytes, you're going to want to consider paying a lot closer attention to the maintenance of the program and possibly switching from a Microsoft Access to an SQL Server database type. SQL servers access the database differently and will increase speed if you're using a network, you have a large number of customers and records in the system, and you find that you're experiencing a slowdown when accessing records in the program. Below that, if you're using the Quickbooks Direct Link, you'll have the Quickbooks version listed here and your XML version. And we can also turn diagnostics on or off and check for system info. This will usually only be asked for by your tech, so don't worry too much about that. The error I have here has to do with the setup for the update. That's why I'm not updated to the latest version. That's why that came up. And when you are using Kennel Connection, if something happens where you receive an error of that nature, you'll want to make sure to contact us immediately or check the Knowledgebase, where we're going to go shortly, to find out if there's a fix or some kind of system reason for that error. The next place we're going to go to is the Utilities tab. Under the Utilities tab, we have a number of options here that are used to keep an eye on or modify items for Kennel Connection. At the top of our list here, we have the Audit Trail. If you have login IDs and passwords set up for your employees and everybody is logging into the system when they use it, the Audit Trail will record every transaction that takes place in the system, as you can see here. Now, I'm logged in as the admin ID, so these are all going to show up as admin. If we scroll down, we might find some logins by another employee. I know I've got someone here somewhere. Here we go. We got Marcus was logged in at one point, did a number of transactions. These transactions are listed right here. When your login and ID and passwords are set up properly, every transaction records in here, additions, modifications, deletions. As you can see with each item here, on the left-hand side, we have their basic list, which are broken into months and years. We have the date, the module that the action took place in, what the action was, and who was logged in when it occurred. To the right for each option, we have further information, including the exact time of the action, and depending on which item we have, for example, we have a pet modified. So down here in the info window, we're going to have the name of the pet and the customer of the pet that was modified. If we scroll down and find, for example, here we have a groom booking that was added. This gives us the name of the customer, the pet for the groom, the date of the groom, and the time that it was scheduled for. Any system option changes, it's going to show us zip codes that were added into the system. One thing I want to point out here is if we have invoices that are modified, it's going to show us the number of the invoice that was modified and the customer. Receipts that are added or modified or deleted, it's going to show you the name of the customer and the date. Gift certificates is going to show us the gift certificate number or the part that was modified. The audit trail is extremely useful. I highly recommend setting it up if you don't have it set up. It is a revenue saver in the long term. Not only will it help you track down any mistakes or errors that occur in the system, whether they're system errors, user errors, or otherwise, but it also can help you avoid any internal theft by setting up red flags. For example, if you have the audit trail set up and you find a number of invoice or receipt deletions in a row, sometimes that can point to some kind of internal trickery, and that can warn you to take a closer look at your finances. Audit Trail is very useful. I recommend it. And a new feature in Kennel Connection that's a bit outside of this webinar, but since I'm mentioning the Audit Trail, I do want to mention that the bookings audit trails of their own. Let's find something on the schedule here. Here we go. Each booking, if you go to the inventory tab, is a audit trail. And this will give you all the details. And again, only if you have login IDs and passwords set up properly. It'll give you an audit trail of every modification from the initial creation of a booking that occurs on that booking specifically. Just another way to keep track of what's happening in the system. Let's close up this clutter here. Next up in our utility section, we have a client merge utility. You have two clients you want to merge together. Simply use this merge utility. You choose the two customers and all the information will merge together. And details are here on which one is going to be deleted as far as any overlapping information that cannot be stored, such as two different addresses, two different phone numbers, etc. We have an undelete client utility. So if you delete clients in the system and you want to go back and undelete them, they'll still be in the system. You can undelete them from here. You can also delete old data. This will allow you to delete old invoices, old boarding data, booking data. So here we can choose the module. This will get rid of all bookings for that time frame you choose. You'll choose the endpoint, and any records that take place behind that date will be deleted. Invoices and receipts will not be affected. Those remain in the system. It's the booking data that will be released. So if you have had Kennel Connection for 6 years and you only want to keep 2 years or 3 years worth of records on who was booked when, you can delete those first 3 years by using this utility. This is especially good to use if your database is getting excessively large, you've had the program for a while, and you need to trim some of the fat out of there to boost efficiency and runtime. We have an export utility. This gives you the option to export your client list or email list into an Excel spreadsheet. You can select specific services, as well as whether it's for active or inactive clients. Next, we have Fill NRA. If you're using the NRA system in Kennel Connection, you can choose this. I have it disabled at the moment. Fill NRA button will allow you to automatically fill NRAs with any pets that are currently set up in the NRA system. The NRAs, by the way, if you're not familiar with that setup, it's called No Runs Available. We go more into the setup and usage of NRAs in the system options webinar. I do recommend that if you have further questions regarding that. Here we have Get System Patch. This is only going to really come up if one of our techs tell you to grab a patch from the system. They'll give you the path file name of that patch you need, and you download it from here. We have a mass text utility. This is new to Kennel Connection 6. You can enter in a text to send to a number of customers as long as they have the text information set up on their cards. It's going to send it to all text, either all active customers, inactive customers, or you can select specific customers that you want to send your mass text to. And as you can see, the list is empty here. It's only going to show you customers that you have texting information set up on. At the moment, none of my customers are into texting. Next, we have the no-show processor. Clicking this will bring up the no-show prompt. If you click yes to this, Kennel Connection is going to go back into the system. And if you have any bookings that have been scheduled but have not been checked in or checked out, Kennel Connection will mark them as no-shows. And in the case of unchecked out boardings, it will move the end date to the current day. And the customer will be marked as a no-show. The customer and the pet will both be marked in red. If you do not, be very careful when using the no-show processor. If you do run it accidentally and you haven't used it in a while, it's going to go back to the last time you used the no-show processor. And when a no-show processor is run and customers and pets are marked as no-shows, the only way to remove the no-show alert is to go into each individual customer and pet and erase the warning from the warning section. There's no mass utility to get rid of no-show alerts. So this can be time-consuming if you do it inadvertently. Next, we have the Odbc. This stands for the I'm drawing a blank on that. Excuse me. The ODB stands for Open Database Connectivity. And this, the main time you'll end up using this is if you start Kennel Connection or you try to print something and you get a DSN error saying that the program cannot access the DSN. What that means is Windows needs to have their DSN set up so it can actually access the information in the database. So the easiest way to do it is click the automatic reset DSN. If that fails, like this did, you can prompt it to go to the Odbc setup. You can choose it from that drop-down we were just at. We have instructions in the Kennel Connection Knowledgebase, and we have instructions we can send you as well on how to do this manually. I'm going to go through it very quickly so you have an idea of how to do it your own. Basically, you're going to end up going to your Odbc Data Source Administrator and selecting the System DSN. You're going to click Add. Choose your Microsoft Access driver. Then you're going to select your data source name. In this case, it's WKennel6. And then you're going to select your database, which will be WKennel in the 6 folder. We're going to click OK. In this case, I'm saying yes to replace it because it already exists. And then we click OK again. And then your DSN is set. If you set your DSN but you're still having issues, it doesn't seem to be connecting, contact our support team and someone would be able to assist you with that, and if they have to, remote into your system and assist you manually. Next up, we have the Quickbooks Direct Sync. If you have the Quickbooks Direct module, you can access from here, but this isn't really involved with the maintenance of the Kennel Connection program. We also have a send email utility up here as well. And then finally, we have release locked records. If you are using Kennel Connection on multiple computers, Kennel Connection locks a record when someone is using it so someone else cannot access it at the same time. If you have a situation where one of your workstations freezes or crashes, or it cannot be accessed, but Kennel Connection still has that record locked on that system, clicking on Release Record Locks automatically unlock any locked items in Kennel Connection. That's a quick fix for that situation. Now, when we were in the About Kennel Connection section, we mentioned backups. We mentioned updates. And the first thing you want to do before updating or doing anything involving your database is to back up Kennel Connection. I'm using Windows 8, so I'm going to be going through my search window. Let me just show this. I'm just going to be going in and typing in the backup restore utility, selecting it from my menu. If you're using an older version of Windows, you want to go to your Start menu, then go to All Programs, find the Kennel Connection folder, and in the Kennel Connection folder, you'll find the backup restore utility. Backing up your database is very important. Even if you have an external hard drive that copies your hard drive, or if you have an external cloud backup system that copies everything out of the system, yes, technically your data is protected. But the backup restore utility not only backs up your database, it also compacts and repairs it. You can see this little box here checked. And it makes sure that all the data is processed properly and is packed nice and tight in there, so you have less chance of corruption of data. This is very important, especially as you use the program year after year and acquire more and more data in the database. To back up the database, you're going to go to your Backup Restore utility, select the Backup the Database tab, select your destination drive. You can use your C drive, your main drive, if it's for a short-term situation. For long-term, you may want to use an external drive or a thumb drive. In this case, I have a thumb drive inserted into my USB port, The drive letter for that is U. I'm going to select back up the database. It's going to ask me if I want to continue. I'll say yes. Now you notice I got an error telling me that I cannot back up the database because it's being accessed. Whenever you do anything with the database, you have to make sure that Kennel Connection is closed on all computers. So if you're running a network and you have to do a backup or a update or a restore for the database, every version of Kennel Connection must be closed. So once you have everything closed, choose your destination, click Backup Database. Database has been successful. It may take a little bit longer if you have a larger database. To restore that database, you're going to open the Backup Restore utility again. Go to Restore Database. Your drop-down. Here we're going to go to U. And the Kennel Connection records the dates as the name of the backup. So as we look here, I've got a KC5. Here's my KC6. And here down here we have KC6 8/7/2013, which is the current date. I can select that and restore the database. And that restores the database. And you saw that alert there. Be aware when restoring a database that it will overwrite whichever database is currently being used by the system. So when restoring a database, make sure you're okay with losing any data that is in the current database that you're replacing. Now that we've backed up my database, we can go ahead and update it. To do that, you want to go to the Blue Crystal Software support site, support.bluecrystalsoftware.com, and enter in your email username and your password. These are given to you with the purchase of Kennel Connection. If you lose them, you can contact us for that information. Make sure whoever calls us for this information, though, has their name listed as either the owner of the program or has specific rights listed on your card in our system that allows whoever's calling to have this access to information. We do not give this out to just any employee who calls us, because obviously there are aspects of the support site that we don't want to give access to everybody. I'm going to log into this. Brings us to the Blue Crystal Software support site. And there's a number of options here that I'm going to go through with you one by one before we get to our updates. We have the home page, which is going to have any recent updates to it, such as Kennel Connection 6 release. Our Facebook page is listed here. We have a demo for our online reservations. Some of our main features will be listed on the home page. Next to that, below that, we have the Support Center Help. This is basically a walkthrough of all the major sections and what information can be found there. Below that, we have support policies. Your support policies are listed here in great detail. If you have any questions about what is or is not covered with your Kennel Connection support plan, I highly recommend taking a look at this document here. If you have any questions regarding anything spelled out on this page, please contact us directly for some further information. Below that, we have our basic support services. Here you have the option to submit a support ticket or a feature request. Support tickets are if you have an issue with the program, if there's a problem, if something that's not working correctly, or you're having an issue with something, you can enter a support ticket here as opposed to contacting us via phone or email. These go into the system and they are tracked. The benefit to creating a support ticket is that you can check your support ticket status on this window. So if you enter a support ticket, you can track the current status of it, see what's going on with it, and you can always, if it's been closed, reopen it, and you can ask us for updates on that support ticket. So it's an easy way to keep track of any contact you're having with us regarding your problems as opposed to just dropping an email or calling. When entering a support ticket, your company information will appear automatically. You want to make sure you choose a version of Kennel Connection if it doesn't choose automatically, which it should. Enter the service release, which we found on the About Kennel Connection section. In this case, mine would be 6.0.15. Select your issue type. We have a number of options here for the type of issue, the priority, subject, and enter a detailed description of your problem. Please be as detailed as possible. If you have talked to somebody else at Kennel Connection about your issue and you're submitting a ticket, even though you've talked to somebody else about it, put the information in here so it's documented that you've given it to us, and so our programming department or tech or whoever is helping you can refer back to your initial documentation here. We also have the option to submit feature requests. If there's something in Kennel Connection that you think should be available, if you think there's a change that you would want to recommend to us, enter your feature request here. With the update to Kennel Connection 6, we incorporated over 200 suggestions from customers, all of which came to us from the Submit Feature Request section. This is used on a regular basis. Every time we go to improve upon the program, we cull ideas and take suggestions from here. So I highly recommend anything you want in Kennel Connection 6 that currently isn't available, submit a request and see if it's something that we can do. When you do this, you're going to choose two types of requests, addition or modification. Addition is something that you think we should be added to the Kennel Connection program as a whole. A modification is something that you're requesting that pay us to modify specifically for your system. There might be some items that that you would like added to the program that does not benefit all users of the program. In that kind of situation, you may want to see if we can do a modification. I always recommend trying the addition first. The only difference would be if one common modification request we get is for specific reports that are formatted a certain way for your facility specifically. That's the kind of situation where you want to choose modification first, perhaps. But I always recommend trying addition first. You can always also give us a call and talk to someone in the training department or technical department to see if something that you're asking for is either already in the system and you didn't notice it, or it might be something that's already in the works. But anyway, in order to get a feature request in the system and documented, choose the type, again, the priority, and once again, a brief description and a detailed description of what you want. Programming department will contact you with further questions if they feel that there's more description they need, but the more description you have here, the easier it is for them to figure out if something can be added to the program. You also notice we have an uploaded file status item here. If you are asked to upload a file to Kennel Connection, an upload file button will appear below this option. The upload file button is hidden unless we specifically ask you to upload something to us. That way our servers are not crushed by people who just decide to suddenly send us the database or send something else because they think they need help with it. You have to contact us and we will let you know if it's set to upload. The upload status will last for exactly 1 day. So if you're requested to upload your database and when you go it's not there, give us a call, we'll reset it for you. Once your database is uploaded, once again, using the file status section, you can see what the current status is of your database upload. You can reopen them or choose to update the ticket. And any past messages on it will show here as well. Next, we have extended services, and one of the main items for the extended services is the Knowledgebase. I highly recommend bookmarking the Knowledgebase, have easy access in your browser. Our Knowledgebase contains multiple documents with instructions on how to use certain aspects of the program. You'll notice here we have one for backup restore utility if for some reason it fails to load. We have an error message here. If you're getting an error 3265, here are the directions on how you can try to fix that. Directions for installing your software on a new computer. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a search engine. So if you're looking, for example, information on setting up commissions for employees, simply go up here and type that in. And then here we have any documentation involving commissions, including our detailed commissions instructions. You can also specifically choose Kennel Connection 6.0 from the left list, as well as any other programs that we offer at Blue Crystal Software. This is going to give you the subfolders for specifically Kennel Connection 6 documentation. So here we have, for example, we can go to employees. This tells us how to assign grooming services, how to set up the employee section, special rates, vacation, and holidays, a number of documentation items. I highly recommend having this bookmarked somewhere or have easy access to it. And if you're trying to contact us and we're having high call volumes, such as this week with the launch of Kennel Connection 6, we've been very busy helping training new customers. If you can't get a hold of somebody right away, take a search in here to see if you can find a document that solves your problem or answers your question. Below that, we have access to the Connection newsletters. We keep them here backdated. Here are older archives going all the way back to 2008. And then we have our product training page. Have any questions regarding training? Here's some basic information regarding it, including new schedules. We've been adding new classes very quickly, so we don't have them updated here yet for, like, for example, the class you're currently in. You also have contact information here. If you have any questions regarding training, you can always use this main email, or you can email me directly at scott@bluecrystalsoftware.com. And then below that, we have our download center. First, we have our updates, and which is the reason I came here in the first place, to update my Kennel Connection. Under the updates section, here we have our basic information, including downloading and installation instructions, which are newly updated. Here we have our download for the latest KC5 update and KC6 update. The update listed here is always going to be the latest update available. We also have a change history. So for Kennel Connection 6, for example, we can click this. It's going to show you all the changes that took place in the revisions that have been currently added to the update. So we're at Kennel Connection 6.0.17 right now, which has a couple of new additions to correct minor issues or update items in the system. To get the update, click on the appropriate update. In this case, it's Kennel Connection 6. Depending on your setup, your Windows will either ask you if you want to save it or download it or run it. In my case, it automatically starts downloading. While that's downloading, well, I already downloaded it. We're going to hold off on that for a second and go through the rest of our download center. We also have a user manual section, a number of user manuals you might use. Here's our DSN creation reset instructions, the email setup guide, gift card usage guide. We have a number of instruction manuals here, including basic ones for peripherals such as the poll display, pet detect, or the time clock module. Below that, we have full installations. We have our full installation for Kennel Connection 6, including our Kennel Connection 6 upgrade demo guide on how to use the demo with an upgraded database from Kennel Connection 5, a number of other instructions regarding using the demo or installing Kennel Connection 6, and of course we still have our Kennel Connection 5 full install down here if needed. And then finally in the download center we have utilities. Utilities you might need for specific situations such as an SQL Server Express, SQL on your system, time clock barcode reader drivers. We have a number of drivers here for peripherals for the system. We have some support files here specifically for the Quickbooks Direct Link module. You can find the Utilities tab and the User Manuals tab. You'll find the information you need for most all of your setup needs for Kennel Connection. Below that, we have our account information. This is going to include your basic information that you can change. You can change your password in the system. And also for other peripheral modules such as the online reservation. Here we have our control panel where we enter information that affects online reservations. And for the smartphone IDs, we can access them here. I'm hitting a hiccup here in my internet. So while that's occurring, I'm just going to go ahead and ignore my sudden website glitch here. And we're going to go to our Kennel Connection update. When you're applying a Kennel Connection update, you want to find it in your downloads, and you want to move it to the Kennel Connection 6 folder. If it actually replaced the previous one, if you have an older update in there, you can enter that. Then all we have to do from there is find that update in the Kennel Connection 6 folder. Here it is, kc6-600.exe. This must be run from within the Kennel Connection 6 folder. Otherwise, it won't apply properly. Also, you want to make sure that Kennel Connection is still closed when you are updating the program. So I'm going to double-click it from the folder here. My Windows 8 thinks it's a virus. I'm telling it it's not. I'm going to grant permission for it to enter the system. Then we're going to go through our Update Install Shield. After it computes our space requirements, we're going to click the Next button. Depending on the size of your computer or what you have running in the background, this might take a moment or two. There we go. I'm going to click Next. Then we're going to accept the terms here. Feel free to read through this or print out a copy for yourself. I'm going to click the Next button again. It's going to ask to confirm which folder Kennel Connection is in. For this information, again, when you go back to the Help tab in Kennel Connection and choose About Kennel Connection, this is going to be your install path that's listed in the Kennel Connection information section. In my case, my install path is actually C:KC6, but for some reason my computer, based on my setup, keeps trying to default it to N. So I'm going to go in here and just change that to the install path that's actually listed in the Kennel Connection info section, and click OK. You can see all my subfolders in the Kennel Connection folder showed up there. I'm going to click Next again. It's going to confirm that I want to begin to installing the update. I'm going to say Install. Sometimes this may take a moment or two to jumpstart. While that's going, I want to point out down here, if I'm able to actually get in my system again. There we go. I don't know what happened with my browser there, but now we can enter my smartphone ID section so you can keep track of your IDs lists for your smartphone app. And then under the contact information at the bottom, we have our sales team, our technical support, and our product training. You can contact us using this contact information here, these forms. Again, all your information will automatically be here except your actual message. And you can choose whether it's a question, comment, suggestion, or a price quote you're looking for. I do recommend looking for price quotes from the sales team specifically. My update has been successfully installed in Kennel Connection. I'm going to click Finish. Once that update's complete, I'm going to go ahead and start Kennel Connection again. Enter in my password. And we're going to go to our Help tab and click About Kennel Connection to confirm that the update took place properly. Again, this is going to take a moment longer for me because I have the Quickbooks direct link set up. Here we have our About section. My revision number is now 6.0.17. I can click Check for Updates. Kennel Connection will say I'm running the most recent service release of Kennel Connection, which means the update was downloaded and installed properly, and we're good to go. That's it roughly for all the basics on maintenance, backing up, updating Kennel Connection, accessing our product support center. If you have any questions regarding anything I've just gone over, please feel free to enter your questions into the chat window. If you need me to go over something that I glossed over and you're looking for more information on, or if I need to reiterate something, please feel free to ask me. The one thing I do ask is if you keep questions relegated to the theme currently at hand in the program, which in this case is the maintenance, backups, updates, that kind of thing. If you have a question that's outside of that realm, please feel free to contact me directly after the webinar. Once again, my contact information is in the chat window. You can contact me at scott@bluecrystalsoftware.com, at 888-486-4343, extension 307, or you can come to the support site and contact me through the product training team contact form. I'm going to give us a moment or two in case anybody has any questions. Some of us do type faster than others. Also, please be aware, as I probably mentioned earlier, if you decide later on that you need to contact me with a question and you email me or call me or send a request through the support site form, please keep in mind that since Kennel Connection has launched this week and last week, we have a high volume of new customers trying out the program for the first time simultaneously. So we are experiencing high call volumes, especially in the training call department. So if you do leave me a voicemail or send me an email, please understand that there might be a delay and I may not be able to get back to you right away. I just want to warn you ahead of time. Normally we do try and are still trying to get to our responding to those requests as soon as possible, but it might take a little longer for another week or so. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat window. I'm going to assume that we're all good and I've covered everything everybody's looking for. Once again, if for some reason you weren't able to enter a question in the chat window, something came up, please feel free to contact me personally. At this point, I'm going to wrap up the webinar. I want to thank everybody for attending. At the end of this session, when I close it, you'll have the option to fill out a survey. Please take the time to fill it out if you do have the time. Much like the Kennel Connection program, we're always looking to improve upon our training options based on customer feedback. So let us know what you thought about the webinar, what you think about our training programs in general. If you have any comments regarding specific aspects of the webinars or suggestions for future ones, please let us know. You can always check edmeeting.com for updates on the current webinar scheduled. And you can also watch videos of past webinars if you missed them, either at anymeeting.com or on YouTube on the Kennel Connection YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and do a search for Kennel Connection. That'll take you right to it. There's not really that much else connected to that search in YouTube. With that, I want to thank everybody once again for attending. I hope you found this webinar informative and helpful. I hope to have you at future webinars, and please have a good afternoon.